So we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. My name is Elizabeth Aloni. I'm with Schneps Media, and we are thrilled to bring you the webinar, The Value of a Bilingual Education. Schneps Media is the largest local publisher of news throughout the New York metro area. We publish over 80 newspapers, magazines, websites, webinars, podcasts, and events throughout Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, Staten Island, Long Island, the East End, even Philadelphia, and now Florida as well. So today we are thrilled to put the highlight on this important topic for our children as they move forward in their education. And I'm thrilled to be able to have extraordinary educators with us here today. And I'm going to go ahead and get started in introducing them. So first, I'd like to welcome Nelyda Miguel, head of school at Hudson Way Immersion School, originally from Venezuela. Nelyda attended an immersion school and then completed high school in Barbados. After completing a degree in special education in Caracas, Venezuela, Nelyda
Elizabeth, we lost you for a second. Are you still with us?
Correct.
Maybe Nelyda, would you like to go ahead and maybe introduce yourself? Maybe we can take over. I think you're on mute, Nelyda. If you'd like to activate your microphone, we can get started.
Absolutely. I will continue until Elizabeth rejoins us. So as she said, as Elizabeth mentioned, I lived in Barbados, where I finished high school and then came to the United States. I completed some degrees in Teachers College, Columbia University, and in Fairfield University. And I have always worked in international schools as assistant head, as dean of curriculum, media specialist, international baccalaureate coordinator, and so on. I'm very happy to be here today. And I would like to introduce Julia Stratmann. Julia, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, hello everybody and good morning. My name is Julia Stratmann. I'm the director of the German School Manhattan, a little school in Tribeca that was founded just in 2018. We are growing into a K-5 program currently. We've added a preschool this year, but we have arrived at third grade at the moment. So it's a very new school. My background is that 10 years ago, I started at the German School Brooklyn as a German class teacher, and over time migrated into administration, which led me to be the director of this bilingual program here in Manhattan. We are, to my knowledge, the only lower school that offers bilingual German-English education in Manhattan. And then we have a partner school, the German School Brooklyn, that has a K-12 program growing as well. I don't know who's after me.
Theo.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Yes.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Theo Tasoulas. I'm principal of the Fantis School of the Saints Constantine and Helen Cathedral right here in Brooklyn Heights. After graduating from UC Berkeley and getting my master's from Teachers College, Columbia, I spent around 20 years in education working in various private school settings as both a teacher and leader. I helped found an independent school and also a charter school before joining Fantis, where I get to enjoy car rides with my daughter to school every day. Next up, we have Christina.
Hi, everybody. And my name is Cristina Ciarcelluti, and I'm the program coordinator of Colina Italiana. We are a school, I've been here since 2018, and we are a school for adults and children. And I also direct the summer program, the mini camp that we have during the summer. I studied in Italy, and I traveled a little bit in Europe, and then I ended up here in New York, and here I am, a Colina Italiana, and I love doing what I'm doing. And then next is Pierre.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. So my name is Pierre-Ludovic Perrot. I'm the head of school at the Lyceum Kennedy French-American School in Manhattan. And I have over 18 years of experience in French education, which includes 2 years in Australia and already 14 years in French-American school in the US. I just moved from California, where I was the head of the French-American School of Silicon Valley. And currently, I'm leading the French-American School of Lyceum Kennedy, which is a K through 12 school that offers also an IB program in 11th and 12th grade. And I think I'm going to continue on with, discussing the philosophy of the Lyceum Kennedy French-American School. So the Lyceum Kennedy French-American School is committed to empowering students from preschool through 12th grade with the bilingual education in a multicultural environment. We combine elements of the French and American curriculums to provide students with well-rounded academic experiences that enable them to thrive in our increasingly globalized world. So our preschool and elementary students spend 50% of their time immersed in French and 50% of their time immersed in English to achieve a balanced bilingual education. And our goal is to equip our students with the knowledge and skills needed to become thoughtful, globally minded citizens of the world by leading with compassion, ambition, and open-mindedness. We're also very proud to share that our student body represents more than 30 nationalities, and we view our school diversity as an asset. We also encourage every child to view the unique cultural background as such. So in our school, each student brings their own experiences and perspective with them to the classroom every day. And our teachers strive to emphasize the value of sharing and learning from one another. And finally, by fostering a culturally responsive learning environment, our students develop an enriched outlook onto the world that considers viewpoints outside of their own. And with that, I will pass it on to Christina.
Thank you very much, Pierre. So we are Collina Italiana, and Colina Italiana is an Italian language and cultural center, and we teach both children and adults. I'm the program director, as I said, since 2018 for both programs, and also the director of the summer camp. For kids, what we do, we offer private and group classes, a morning drop-off during the weekdays, also some events and workshops during the weekends. And so we try to give the families as much as we can in terms of classes and events and summer camps. So everything that we can help really to that can help to get those kids like in a place where they are the more immersed in the language. Our philosophy is very simple. We want to make sure that kids learn and play. They kind of arrive here and they enter in this mini Italy in Manhattan, and they feel happy to be here. They feel happy to share this language with other kids, and then they are happy to use the language outside with their families in Italy, and we really think that connecting families through the language and connecting them with the culture of their family is very important. I'm gonna leave the.
Thank you, Christina.
Nella, right?
Yeah, I think the
Elizabeth will be next.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm up. Thank you, everyone. Really thrilled to be joining this webinar with a talented and diverse group of educators. Let me tell you a little bit about Fantis School. We're a small, private, and inclusive Greek Orthodox program for preschool to 8th grade. We're actually celebrating our 60th year this fall, which is amazing, alongside our church, Saints Constantine and Helen Cathedral, which is celebrating 110. Fantis School, we provide an immersive Greek experience in a small school, family-like environment. We only have one class per grade, under 200 students, but we really have, that allows us to offer personalized academics and with high standards. Phantas is proud to host New York City's first Greek dual language UPK4 program. Our model focuses on preschool immersion, followed by carefully sequenced Greek language integration for K-8 students in order to graduate with the level B1 fluency or higher. B1 would mean students, our graduates could live in another country. If they achieve B2, that would be, they could go to college in another university. We do this by offering Hellenic studies daily from pre-K. That's either 5 or 6 periods per week. That includes language, culture, mythology, and history of the classical Greek culture. Greek is also integrated throughout the curriculum for all grades. So I still remember the Hagia Sophia Middle School Art Contest, which was centered around the historic site in Turkey. It was a collaboration between our religion, art, Greek, and poetry teachers. That's a little flavor of how we integrate. We also have a cultural exchange program in operation for all grades. That includes pen pals, partner schools, and it culminates in a senior trip to Greece. Yes, even parents get to go. For our 5th graders recently just opened their letters from their pen pals in Greece, and they're starting to track their replies. And I actually just sat in on a Zoom call with our 8th graders who partnered with a middle school in Greece to investigate the role of feminism in 18th century literature and art. I'll end by saying we instruct using the classical approach of paideia, which is really what they now call whole child. So yes, the Greeks thought of it 2000 years ago. And that focus on the intellectual, social, moral, and physical refinement using 3 teaching strategies. So there is didactic instruction, direct instruction, but the majority of it is through intellectual coaching, which is where the teacher becomes a guide and facilitator through modeling and reflective questioning. And last but not least, what everyone's familiar with is the Socratic seminar, which really manifests in middle school. The result is that our 8th graders take 5 Regents courses in all the core subjects, which are basically high school exams, giving them high school credit when they enter high school. So thank you so much. For now, I'm going to pass it off to Julia to learn more about the German School of Manhattan.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for handing over. Yeah, it's funny because I can already recognize a little bit of a theme just talking to international bilingual educators, that when I hear these educators talking about their schools, there's a lot of recognition of themes that we could all get excited about if we're all sitting in the same room, which is that as a bilingual school, we have the opportunity to collect best practices from different curricula. And just like Pierre was talking about at the Lycée, we do curriculum blending, meaning we can pick and choose in a 50-50 curriculum the touching points in which we make the German side and the US curriculum that we base on the local standards here, combined with what the teaching benchmarks are that come from Germany. And Germany, similar to Greece, having a long, not as long educational history. And we can bring the best practices to New York, but we don't bring them in a vacuum. We bring them on the ground of a vibrant city, of a cultural that very much has sparked a discussion about what does it mean to be a citizen, a thoughtful citizen, a global citizen, and where do we want to go with these kids? And this is why we believe that this concept of curriculum blending, of having a bilingual faculty that works together closely, is a huge advantage. One of our very unique offerings is that we have very small classes. This is absolutely an optimized learning environment for us, is a group size of about 12 children. We are, I hate the term, but we are a boutique school in Tribeca. We're easily accessible. And we have these classes starting with a pre-K full immersion and then going into 50-50 from kindergarten and beyond. Another thing that absolutely enriches our school life is this community. We also heard it before. We have so many countries represented. So we are not a German island on the island of Manhattan. Most families have a third language in the family as well. So, and this is, I think, what we all is true about bilingual students. They are more likely to pick up other languages. Their brain is trained to pick up different kind of codes, language being codes that we constantly practice in a back and forth. So I do think the absolute strong point of bilingual education is that we see and teach from two perspectives always, that code switching is in a sense already academic. Like without even having a decent curriculum, you would have a very academic experience just switching to languages. And then of course we can refer to different benchmarks that in terms of assessment, in terms of we can compare how we learn, how we assess, and how we assess a student's progress from different sides as well. So there's also a diversity in teaching methodology that I as an educator appreciate, and also that my team appreciates.
I do have to jump in. I have to apologize, and just goes to show you how being bilingual definitely helps you handle things when they go wrong. So I do apologize. My internet failed me after 200 webinars. This is the first time that happened. So I do apologize, and I thank you, each of you, for jumping in. So thank you so much for that, Julia, and do appreciate it. So
Pierre took over. It was him.
Well, thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Pierre. I do appreciate it. So I'd love to move to the next person to be able to talk about your school.
Okay, I believe that might be me. Yes.
Terrific.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Nelyda Miguel, and I'm the head of school of Hudson Way Immersion School. We have immersion in Spanish and in Mandarin. Our model of immersion is a little different in that we have 100% immersion for 2-year-old students. And then we gradually introduce English until at the end, by middle school, we have 40% of the time immersion in the target language and 60% in English. We feel that ensures that children will really have a solid foundation in the target language. We have native speaking teachers and small classes, 12 or less as well. We go through the middle school. So we start with 2-year-olds and end in 8th grade. Our approach to curriculum is international. We like to bring in various perspectives and cultures. I have a long background in the international baccalaureate since 2000. I was a workshop leader and a presenter and a school evaluator. So I bring a lot of the best practices, which are research practices, to our school, such as inquiry-based instruction, what I call hands-on and minds-on. So kids are engaged and they're doing the learning. They're the ones participating and engaging and doing the learning. We have a lot of project work, a lot of relevant real-life problems to solve. We give a lot of choice. And we are multidisciplinary in our approach to education. We have a diverse community, a very diverse community, and we follow the Common Core and basically the Common Core standards, which I found to be very similar than the Chinese national standards, actually, and the next generation science standards. In our school, we culminate with AP testing for the Global Seal of Literacy for both Spanish and Mandarin.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's important too to note that, when you're talking about a bilingual education, you still get the full global education. So you're not trading anything in, you're really adding to the student's experience. So I think you're mentioning that about the core of it is really a really very critical piece to it. So thank you for that. And I do want to let you know, because I wasn't able to finish reading the bios, but Nelyda certainly has a tremendous amount of experience, over 20 years as a media specialist, dean of curriculum, head of middle school, assistant head, and interim head of school. So she's currently the head of school at Hudson Way Immersion School, but she certainly has many years of experience and earned an MA and an MED in special education and administration, and later an MA in school library media from Fairfield University. So thank you so much for that. Who else has not spoken about their school?
We're all ready to go. We followed the run of show like good educators.
Yes.
This is so wonderful, wonderful. So I do want each one of you also to share with us about, what is the value? And you may have touched upon this a little bit, but digging a little bit deeper into, what is the value of a bilingual education? And I'm sure you did touch upon that a little bit in talking about your schools, but perhaps you can dig a little bit deeper into it when a parent is thinking about, should I take that step? Concerned about it? Could it be difficult? Will it bring value? Julia, can you get us started on that important question about the importance of a bilingual education?
Yes, absolutely. And it's my favorite thing to talk about with parents when they come to me and they consider a bilingual school. I just like to get the disclaimer and say, don't come to me and ask again in 4 years and 5 years, because the key to bilingual is to do it and to start ASAP. The time isn't lost if you still want to learn German or any other language later in the game, but when it comes to the actual wiring that is happening in the brain in order to be a true bilingual, multilingual person, that happens in the early years. And this is why all of our schools, I think, have early education programs. That's where the magic lies, when language acquisitions happens before a child knows how to read and write. Then reading and writing do come into play, and then again, a bilingual environment tends to be very interesting because my favorite topic, phonics, happen very differently in different languages. So when the learning experience of a student who learns the alphabet in 2 languages, we have the same alphabet in English, and German and English tend to share a lot of roots in the language. They can even sound alike. That is not the same for all these bilingual schools here. Where, for example, you have a English Mandarin combination, that will be a very different experience. Ours is a certain way, and this is why our curriculum is a certain way, and our phonics program has to be tailored to our student that lives a life that is half German, half English. So again, the value of that we see in our students is that they are becoming flexible learners, and they are just curious learner, and they know they are just in the same way that we tend to say that bilinguals are good in math skills. That is because their brain is accustomed to switching codes all the time. So this can have wonderful effects for your analytical thinking skills as well as your problem solving skills. And this is something, when it's learned earlier in the classroom, is a great experience. I also have to say that for the social emotional development of students in a bilingual school, there's a great understanding and empathy in bilingual classrooms, because it is very likely that children speak these 2 or 3 languages on different levels. So each student has a strength, and each student has a weakness and has a buddy that will even out a little bit, or know you and know what you're working on. And conversely, you're helping your assistant, you're learning by teaching. There's a lot of give and take and a lot of social emotional development in these classrooms. That is one of the main values that I love observing, especially in our younger grades. Value in bilingual education going forward is definitely, and I'm speaking for the German-speaking countries such as Germany, of course, but Switzerland, Austria, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, etc. They're all European countries that have strong economies and wonderful public education systems. So a huge value of this investment in bilingual education is that hopefully you'll stick to it, and hopefully this will open up international doors for you for universities around the world.
I love that. And, I don't know if Julia shared with everyone, but, part of the beginning of her bio really is talking about how she passionately advocates for bilingual education. And it was her passion for acting that brought her to New York City. And then she started teaching in the German school in Brooklyn, and she transitioned from class teacher to administrator, and then took on the role of director 2 years later. And so she really has a creative approach to curriculum blending. Tell me a little bit, because things kind of are a little bit off schedule, but Julia, tell me a little bit more about your school, about the German School Manhattan, and its philosophy.
Yes, so the German school is happy to bring German education to New York, because what German education tends to be, and what we love about it, is that it is very structured. German language acquisition is a handful, because it's a very complicated language if you if you speak about grammar. We do, and we love pairing this very structured piece with for example, a very popular creative reading and writing approach that is being taught here, which is most commonly used as the Teachers College Readers and Writers Workshop. And I think here Theodore would know about this, being a Teachers College graduate. All of our teachers that teach English are, of course, native English speakers, and they teach English in a very creative and joyful workshop format. On the German side, not saying that is not joyful. I love to talk about German education with a humorous twist, because a lot of the stereotypes are coming up that the Germans are very disciplined and strict. In a way, this is true for in the senses how we have to teach this. We almost have to teach the language like a math problem, because it's so structurally complicated. So this exchange between the two systems of how we teach reading and writing already is super productive. And what we love to do is we love to take the pieces, for example, a nonfiction unit on the English side goes together with a nonfiction unit on the German side, and the teachers create writing projects together in this bilingual exchange mode. And these are, for example, these are the situations in which me as a school leader, I can really facilitate in projects. We try to incorporate inquiry-based projects as much as we can in the science and social studies areas, whereas the language acquisition areas have to be taught a little bit more traditionally. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. You painted a really nice picture of it. And I think, getting beyond maybe some perceptions about the German language and about how you can be both structured and creative at the same time. I think that's a very, very important piece. And thank you for sharing those bits about, why bilingual education is so important. It's way beyond just language and learning another language. It really has to do with the brain development and social and so many other aspects. So thank you so much for sharing that. I want to turn over to Pierre-Ludovic Perrot, who was my stand-in, and I thank you. And I'd love for him to be able to share with us a little bit more about Lyceum Kennedy French American School. I don't know if Pierre-Ludovic was told you all about his incredible resume, but he has over 18 years of experience in French education, 2 of those in Australia and 14 years in French American schools in the US. He helped scale the Silicon Valley French American School during his 6 years as head of school, and previously led a large K through 12th grade international school in Dallas, which I'm aware of when I lived in Dallas. Pierre-Ludovic exhibits an unrelenting passion for education that stems from a belief that providing a bilingual curriculum leads to the most enriched learning experiences for our future generation, which is what we're talking about today. So Pierre-Ludovic, would you please share with us a little bit more about the Lyceum Kennedy French American School?
Sure. Thank you very much for the introduction, Elizabeth. Well, while you were away, we actually spoke a little bit, all of us, about our schools. So I'm happy to, share some key points of what I said earlier on. I think first and foremost, the Lyceum Kennedy French American School is committed to empowering students from preschool through 12th grade with a bilingual education in a multicultural environment. What we do is we combine elements of the French and the American curriculums to provide students with well-rounded academic experiences that truly enable them to thrive in our increasingly globalized world. And so the way we're doing that is in our preschool and elementary students spend 50% of their time immersed in French and 50% of their time immersed in English to really achieve a balanced bilingual education. So our goal is to equip our students with the knowledge and skills needed to become thoughtful, globally minded citizens of the world by leading with compassion, ambition, and open-mindedness. And also what I said earlier on is we're really proud to share that our student body represents more than 30 nationalities. And we really view our school diversity as an asset. And so maybe to move on now to the benefits of bilingual education, and just to second on what Christina was saying earlier, I think I'd like to add two key points and two elements. And I'd like to tell to the parents of possibly future bilingual school parents, is that by providing your child with a bilingual education, starting in preschool, students are given the tools at a young age, not only to achieve proficiency in two languages, which is the goal at the beginning, but also to develop a deeper, a more thorough understanding of foundational academic concepts and critical thinking skills. And additionally, I think immersing your child in multicultural learning environment will help naturally develop a greater sense of appreciation for and also knowledge of different cultures and languages.
I think you bring up some really important points. I mean, one of them talking about how multicultural your school is. I think some people have the idea that you have to be, have a heritage, a French heritage or a German heritage or an Italian heritage to learn the language. And truly that is not the case. You can be of many different ethnicities. That's not really the key. The key is really the desire to learn and, learning about these different philosophies that your school provides and these other schools provide, and the value again of the bilingual education as a whole. So I think that is really a very unique piece to bring forth for everyone to understand and to be able to know that's an important piece to it. It's not about your heritage necessarily. There's still tremendous value.
Absolutely. We have all nationalities in the classroom, and then a lot of them are speaking a third language at home as well.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Now, I know, Cristina, you spoke a bit, but I'd love to turn to you a little bit more to be able to have you share a little bit more about the Colina Italiana school, where you are the program director and have been since 2018. You're the program coordinator for adult and children programs, and you also direct the full immersion summer camp for kids that's also open to beginners through advanced learners. And Cristina studied in international relations at the University of Bologna. She's widely traveled. She attended language courses in English, France, and Estonia. And as our other panelists, she's quite passionate about languages and bilingual education. So Cristina, can you share a little bit more about your school and about the importance of bilingual education from your perspective?
Absolutely, thank you. So yeah, as I said earlier, we really care here at Colina Italiana to make sure that the kids and the parents, and then, we also have classes for adults, as you also reminded. So it's a big family. We include everybody. So we do make sure that everybody feels like they're in this little Italy in Manhattan. But also, as we were also saying, this is also a school that is open to everybody. Like, we have different kinds of kids. We have kids that have parents that are Italian and they want to keep the language, but we have kids that have maybe only one parent that is Italian. And, it's difficult sometimes to keep the Italian language alive, especially if you're home with maybe another parent that doesn't speak that language. As a new mom also, I am really deeply more understanding this right now, because it's not easy. So we're here to help. And but also we have other kids that maybe, as Pierre also was saying, they're also speaking other languages. So maybe they speak 2 languages at home and then they come here and they learn the 3rd language. Or for example, I remember this this very brilliant guy that used to attend classes here at Colina, and they were taking classes. He was taking classes when he was very, very young. He started at 2-year-old. This is like the youngest we can accept here at Colina. And he has an Italian father and a Japanese mother, and he was born here in New York. So he's now learning the 3 languages. And, you know, as soon as like he would step into Colina Italiana, he would start speaking Italian. And then the mom comes pick him up, and then he's magically speaking like perfectly fluent Japanese. And then obviously he's going to school here in Manhattan. So with his friends at school, he speaks English. You know, it's so beautiful to see that. And it's so beautiful to see how also not only the language, but it's also the, as we were saying, the culture or the way of thinking, you know, that changes in between the languages, and you start like really understanding how the kids have a different view of the world. They're more open. They're like, you know, it's really, really a good, it's very a good value to have. And it's beautiful to share it with other people. It's beautiful to share it in a city that is as good as New York, you know, and where you can find different languages everywhere. So our school really, we try to accommodate everybody, but also we listen to the goals and the needs of the families. So we have the kid that is already bilingual, and we're going to structure a customized program for them. We have a kid that is new to the language, you know, so we're going to use other material and maybe a different kind of program. So that's the value of Colina Italiana. And we're very happy also to celebrate 15 years in business this year. So
Wonderful.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
No, you bring up a really good point. You know, now we're living in a world that's so connected because of the internet and social media. You know, to be able to raise children who can understand that on a deeper level, you know, it's really kind of bringing another culture inside you. And when you learn the language, it's not just speaking words, but it's understanding the culture. And I can only imagine the tremendous acceptance. I know that I had to wait until I was like in my early 20s when I went on a trip outside of the country to really have my mind expanded. But to think about children being started at as little as 2 years old with their mind already expanded to understand that we're all connected, we're all one, we're all, you know, in this together is really a tremendous benefit that, you know, I don't know that people would necessarily think about when they think about a bilingual education.
Correct. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward. So I'd love to turn to Theo Tasoulas, who's the principal of Fantis School. I know that he has introduced himself to you, but he leads a school that is small, private, and inclusive Greek Orthodox program for preschool to 8th graders. And the school is proud to host New York City's first Greek dual language UPK4 program. You'll have to tell us more about that. Their model focuses on preschool immersion, followed by carefully sequenced Greek language integration for K-8 students in order to achieve B1 fluency by graduation. Now, that's a lot of letters and numbers. So I'm going to turn to Theo. Tell us more about it. Theo, there?
Always on mute. Yes. Hi, I'm here. Thank you so much. Yes. So I think this is a perfect segue because the history of our school, we opened in 1963. They crammed about 300 Greek family students in this very building. It was only Greek students. It wasn't until around 2005 where we opened up to non-Greek families. And, you know, Brooklyn is changing, right? It's now the epicenter of the world culturally. And so we've had to adjust our educational approach. We're not 100% Greek anymore. We have a substantial portion of families who are mixed or even not Greek. And so not all of our students here or speak Greek every day at dinner or spend summers in Greece. So to address this, we've been focusing over the last several years on how to ensure that our students achieve a level B1 is basically 8th grade would be able to travel abroad. Level B2 would mean that they could attend university. And those are our goals. So we started young, right? We opened up this dual language, the Greek dual language pre-K for our 4-year-olds, and we have an immersion approach for the 3s. As they ascend through the K-8 program, we continue to integrate so that they achieve these high levels of fluency. But I do want to talk a little bit or add on about the value of bilingual education. I think I have kind of a unique perspective on this, esteemed cohort. I am the American who spent a year abroad during university, and that had a huge impact on my life and career in education. And from that, whereas our esteemed panelists are from other countries. But so I know growing up that the value of bilingual education in the US, where the geographic isolation and the assimilation of cultures in the melting pot can really narrow your worldview, right? Your perspective on the world. And I think now in the age of technology and the internet, as you've mentioned, bilingual education plays an even greater impact, right? In this globalized society. So as we've said, like second language acquisition not only opens doors for language fluency, but as I tell incoming parents, it's cultural literacy. It's an appreciation for the history and traditions of societies of the world. And I would be remiss to not include a quote from Socrates, which we all know: education is not the kindling of a flame. Education is the kindling of a flame. It's not the filling of a vessel. And I feel like bilingual education really opens the doors of your mind in ways that are just not really easily replicable. And I think they have long-lasting impacts on our children. And that's one of the many, many reasons why I bring my daughter to school with me, to this very school, each and every day.
That's wonderful. I'm jealous now. I wish I started my kids younger. It's so, it really is such a special experience for children for so many reasons. Thank you so much for that, Theo. I want to just jump back to Nelyda because I don't know if she had an opportunity to really delve more into the Hudson Way Immersion School and make sure that she, has an opportunity to do so. Nelyda, are you there?
I am here.
Wonderful.
Not in mute, I think. No, not in mute. So nope. Yes, I did have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Hudson Way program. And the emphasis was that we start with 100% immersion with 2-year-olds and then gradually introduce English. I also talked a little bit.
How do they respond to it? I mean, are most of your children already exposed to language at home, or are many of them coming and they really have never been exposed to the language?
We have a mix. We have many kids that do not speak the target language at home. We have a lot of heritage kids. We don't see a big difference. We do take children in after, they come in, they can come in at 2, up to about 1st or 2nd grade. We can manage with supplementary instruction to catch them up. After that, it becomes very difficult because, particularly in Mandarin. Mandarin is a very difficult language, and because our students are really working at grade level in the target language, in science and social studies, and in the language arts. So it's very difficult for a language learner to join after 1st or 2nd grade. I did want to talk a little bit about value of bilingual education. One, of course, is the cultural heritage for us, because we have a lot of families that are originally or have roots in countries of these languages, Spanish and Mandarin. Also, the language proficiency that will open doors in the future. We have about 5 billion people on Earth above the age of 20. And about 1.1 billion English speakers, 1.1 billion Mandarin speakers, and about 534 Spanish speakers. So together, these 3 languages are spoken by about 2.8 billion people, and that is more than half of the adults over 20 in the country, in the world. So when you think about opening doors, these are the languages that really will reach. I mean, if we added Hindi, we would have 80% of the world population here represented. The other part of it is, of course, a deep understanding of the changes in cultural perspectives. I've always been in international education. We've also always represented many perspectives, but living it through language is a much more profound experience. It just exposes you to other ways of being and other ways of seeing the world. One of the things that I remember hearing once in a radio program was that people will see things the way they describe them. In German, we have feminine and masculine pronouns, and in English, we don't. And in Spanish, of course, we do as well. When people get a little bit of training, Americans in German, they start giving their bridges, for example, feminine attributes, because bridges are feminine in German, I understand. Whereas if you learn in Spanish, you give them masculine attributes, because we have, say, el puente, and it's a masculine noun. So language doesn't only let us express what we think, it changes how we think.
Wow.
And that is, it just changes your meaning. It's also intrinsically a human endeavor. Babies will react to any language spoken to them, but if you put that same person in a video, there's very little reaction. So it's built into our DNA that we socially communicate through language. So to me, immersion deepens that cognitive ability of students to solve problems and to code switch, which is so important in our world. You code switch so often in so many environments.
That's very interesting. I never thought about that way how you just talked about, like the masculine, feminine, you could never in our time today go over all of the tremendous benefits and challenges and changes and just mind expansion that having a bilingual education provides to a person. Really, so much for that. That was I love how each one of you I keep blowing my mind with this information. It's wonderful. So, I wanted to just quickly go to each of you and ask, because each of you are talented educators and professionals, and you can be involved with many different educational institutions. So I just wanted to jump to each of you quickly for you to share with me, what is your passion about your school? And let me jump off with that question. Let me go to Theo first.
Sure, thank you so much. Really, it's a passion to embrace Greek heritage and still classical Hellenic education. And we want to graduate successful Philhellenes who go on to impact their communities. Philhellenes are those who love Greece and its culture. And I want to say, I mentioned before, this is our passion and focus for all of our students, whether they're Greek, mixed family, or not Greek at all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Pierre, can we turn to you?
Absolutely. What I love about Lyceum Kennedy French American School is truly the 50-50 bilingual education, in a way where we offer a balanced bilingual curriculum where students spend, as I said before, 50% of the time immersed in English and 50% of the time learning in French. So in each grade level, in preschool, what we call nursery, 2 years old, pre-K and kindergarten, is taught by a native speaking English teacher and a native speaking French teacher with respective teaching certification in the New York State Department of Education and also the French Ministry of Education guidelines. The second thing that I love about the Lyceum Kennedy French American School is truly the way that we enrich the students' early education with a bilingual and multicultural approach. So truly, I believe that the foundation of a child's academic career can be strengthened by providing him or her with an early education that teaches the building blocks of academic concept through a bilingual approach. And then the third part of really what I loved about the Lyceum Kennedy French American School is the diversity of culture and thought. Because we really value diversity in all aspects at Lyceum Kennedy, especially diversity of culture and thought. And we believe, like, by instilling a sense of respect and open-mindedness in all our students starting at a young age, we aim to create a culturally responsive environment for children to feel proud of their unique cultural and linguistic backgrounds.
Wonderful. Thank you. Julia?
Yes, I'm muted. similar to Theo, I have my own daughter in a bilingual program, and it's one thing to teach it and be in it and appreciate it for your own personal reasons. German is my culture. I learned English as a teenager and as a grown-up. So I at this point would say bicultural, but not from the beginning on. So I appreciate that on a very personal level, that I now at this point, 20 years in the US, I have and I think we said it before, I have a different way of being. So what a bilingual education gives you is it gives you an extension of your identity. And why I advocate for bilingual education is that it has done so much for me. Now I see this in my daughter, and I see it as an earlier stage. And as Nelyda said it earlier, it's almost like looking behind the curtain. When you see how another language is being programmed, as a monolingual, you never question that. You never question the one code that you're navigating. If you have another one, it doesn't matter which one it is, you have a reference system. Mm-hmm. That's the richness of the academic experience. And this continues on, of course, and then you have the key. It's the key to an identity. It's the key to culture. It's the key to, literature. For example, and I mean, I'm not advocating for Germany as a country, because it's also a small country. And me personally, I love to be in a big city, and I love to see German values in the context of a culturally very rich arena. So now that's the exchange that I, as a creative person, appreciate just to live in day by day as a person and as a mother.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Christina, what is your passion for your school, and what can you share with us?
Here we are. Yeah, so why do I love Colina Italiana? I love Colina Italiana because Colina Italiana is a big family. It's just a big Italian family, as you see in movies, the good movies. We really welcome everybody, and we have, for example, have adults that started learning Italian with us, and now they bring their children, so they've been with us forever. So that's that sense of community in a big crazy city like New York City. That's what I really love. And then going back to the point that Julia was talking about, really being bilingual, it opens your mind and it helps you understand other people that you interact with, and it really opens so many doors that it's not even, we don't really have the time today or never to really describe all the good things of being bilingual and being a better person.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, hearing you speak, I think about what history lessons must be like when you have this basis coming from. I mean, talk about making history come to life. All of these languages that we're speaking about have a tremendous history. And I truly think, that learning about that is so important for all of our students. So thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm going to go back now to Nelyda. Nelyda, to share.
Thank you. So, well, I think my passion is for this school is based on my personal story and the story of the founder, Sharon Huang. My personal story is about opening doors beyond the imagination. My dad believed when as I said, he moved from Spain, he moved to Argentina, then he moved to Venezuela. And he was a blue collar worker. He owned a printing shop, but he believed, and he was way ahead of his time, that a bilingual education would open doors for me and for my sister. So he thought we would have this education and we will become bilingual secretaries, and our lives would be, fabulous. And, at this point, my sister has a PhD and she's the chair of the global MBA program at UNC Chapel Hill, Ken Flagler, and she trains the US Force, the US Navy, Exxon, Sony, and so on. And I am, the head of this wonderful school. So when you learn languages, you just don't know where it's going to take you. And the sky's the limit, basically. And Sharon's story, which I thought was so touching, was she took her 5-year-old twins to China and they watched Ice Age in Chinese. And she said, and they laughed in all the right places. And then they went to a playground and this little boy was teasing one of her children, calling him Watermelon Head. And they thought it was hilarious and they were all laughing together. And she thought, look, we can connect to my family's heritage. So that to me describes our passion for what we do.
I love that. I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I just shared in the chat all of the schools, the email addresses and phone numbers so that everyone can follow up. So I want to make sure you do that. Also tomorrow, you will get an email from me that will also have all of the contact information there as well. So you can make sure that you can follow up. But I do want to jump over to some questions because we have some great questions from our attendees. So I'd like to be able to ask those questions of you. So Gina wanted to know, are there English language delays with children who are developing bilingually? I think that's sometimes a concern people can have. Can someone address that?
Well, I could talk about that, and I'm sure we'll have my colleagues will also have their stories. What we find, because we start 100% in the target language, we find that delays, not necessarily, but perhaps our children would be more advanced in English. They tend to be right on grade level in the beginning, but we find by around 3rd or 4th grade, both languages take off and then they exceed language expectations in both languages. So I think there is a period in which you're sorting out both codes. When we have found that a few students, like everybody's brain is different. So we have found that we have a small number of students who need a little bit of extra push on phonics. So we've gotten a special Foundations is a special curriculum that specializes in phonics, and we provide an after-school class for any students in kindergarten and first that we feel maybe a little extra would help.
Okay, fantastic. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to incorporate the two, but
right.
Once that's done, then there's just off to the moon.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So we had a question. Anna wanted to know, are there any scholarships offered for your schools?
Yeah.
Maybe we want to go around and
Yeah, we do. We do offer a scholarship. We have a financial aid program. We have a third party called School and Student Services, which is under the umbrella of the National Association of Independent Schools. What I liked about this program is really that they are going to look at the financial of the parents and make recommendation to the school. So it's the beauty of using a third party. It's just like you have the credibility of that service delivered to the parents and to the school.
I can jump on that. We're doing the same in German School Manhattan, the same third party provider, SSS.
Wonderful.
Apart from financial aid, we also have scholarships.
We don't offer at Fantis School scholarships per se, but thanks to the good graces of the church, we're able to keep our tuition very, very competitive. So.
Wonderful. Terrific. Thank you for that. We also have another
Colina
question.
Italiana. Sorry, as for Colina Italiana, we are not a curriculum school. Like every day, we're mostly like after school programs or school programs in the morning only for children. So we don't have that specific kind of scholarship that you're talking about.
Okay. We have another question about whether it says, Khalid said, are all these schools international schools or private institutions? I'm not sure the distinction there, but maybe if you do, you can answer that, but also, are these all private institutions?
So I think you can be both. I think we're all private education institution here in the room, but we can also be international school in the way that the Lyceum Kennedy French American School is part of the French school network. So in every big cities around the world, you're going to have a or multiple French schools that are accredited by the French Ministry of Education, and so are we at the Lyceum Kennedy French American School. And so this is the beauty of being both a independent school in Manhattan, but also belonging to a worldwide network.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. We have a question about, maybe each of you could quickly share this, is that
what age do you recommend starting, and what would be the oldest age a child could begin? Pierre, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, absolutely. As my colleague mentioned before, I think the earlier is the better. At Lyceum Kennedy, we start at 2 years old. And what I used to say is in nursery, pre-K and K, we teach French, but after that, first and second grade, we start teaching in French, which is really a difference. So at the early age, we teach the phonics, and we teach the lexical vocabulary, how to introduce yourself, and the colors and the days of the weeks and all that. But truly after that, you get into the topic, the disciplines, math, and then sciences, and then also the equivalent of ELA, the French language arts as well. So
starting at the first grade level is when you really start teaching in the language. I think someone else had said that as well. Yes. Is there anyone else that has anything different, or is it all pretty much that, that you start really teaching class in that language at around that first grade level? Is that pretty typical?
Yeah. Well, at Colina Italiana, being a private school and being a school that really focuses more on after-school programs, we incorporate those subjects, but we don't have curriculum like that, so we are a little bit different. Mm-hmm.
We're at a Fantis school. We have a little bit different. So we have the dual language immersion in preschool. And then as they grow through the K-8 grades, it's they have the daily studies continue, but then it's about integration throughout other subjects. Yeah. And to the point, the majority of our families join us, preschool or kindergarten, but we do have a Greek language transition program for students who enter first grade or after. It's a 4 to 6 week tutoring program with one of our teachers, online games, tutoring, and so forth to help them transition into the Greek language. And if I think it was Nelyda who said, if like in any subject, if they struggle in math, we're going to support them in math. If we see that they struggle in Greek, we're going to support them in Greek.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that question?
Well, I would say that it also depends if the language is spoken at home, because not everybody comes in with zero language. If you have some of the language, you can probably incorporate yourself later and still learn quickly enough to catch up with your class. But if you have no familiarity with the language, it is hard after first grade, particularly in Mandarin, to catch up.
So everyone, after this call, after this webinar, get on your phones, get in contact, and get your kids started, because the sooner the better for this wonderful education that, you've really all shed a light on, not only the tremendous schools that you're all running and the excellence that you all day to day attend for our students, but also the tremendous value that a bilingual education provides for children. And it is way beyond being able to speak to grandma. It is from A to Z in a child's development, from their ability to understand globally, be able to understand subjects. Thank you so much for shedding a light on all of that for us, and for teaching us the importance. It was really wonderful to have all of you again. I apologize for my technological issue, but I'm so happy that we were able to speak to each one of you. Thank you to our panelists for spending the time with us today. And I want to thank all of our attendees for spending some of the morning with us. I hope that you learned a lot. And like I said, you will be getting all of the contact information, so you can go right ahead and get in contact. In fact, before we hang up, you can grab it off the chat right now, so you don't even have to wait until tomorrow. This has been recorded, so we will have a video of this as well sent to all of you, so you can watch it again. You could also share it with your family and friends, and we certainly hope you do, because we want to get out the importance of a value of a bilingual education, and certainly let everyone know about these tremendous schools. So again, thank you everyone, and I wish you all to stay safe, stay healthy, and look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.